My name is Xavier Ramirez. I just graduated from ASU with my bachelor's in biology. It was October 23rd, 2015. I was a sophomore, and so that was my first year on varsity, so I was really shy. And I just did my job. That's all I was there to do. It was a regular football game, regular Friday night district game. Fans were there. It was really crazy. That's probably the most fans I've ever seen there. At the end of the first quarter, my friend actually dislocated his hip. Slayton's EMS, ambulance services, we only have one truck available in the whole entire town of Slayton. And so once he got hurt, the truck took him to Lubbock. Right before halftime, my friend actually tackled wrong and put his head down and actually broke his neck. He took a knee and then let the EMT rush car take him to Lubbock too. Slayton's a really small school, it's a 3A, and so you had to play both sides of the ball. Offense, defense, special teams, just you got to do it all. We were running back down to the field to get set up for field goal and stuff like that. My head starts hurting and I start to get a little bit dizzy. So as I'm running down the field with my head hurting, I'm dizzy and tired, I decided to take myself off the field.
Really, at first, Xavier came off and really didn't think anything. He had some cramps earlier in the game, and when he came off, he just came straight to me and said he was having trouble breathing and needed somebody for a couple of plays, and kind of handed him off to our trainer.
So at that point, I was like, okay, something's wrong. So I go down to the railing where, and he has sat down. So when I call his name, he looks up at me. He turns around and looks at me, and I was like, "Are you okay?"
I try to say, "Yeah, I'm okay," and then I try to say, "I love you," just to reassure that I was okay. But I couldn't even get those words out.
And when he didn't say anything to me, and he turned and he just leaned over and fell.
I heard the trainer scream and turned around, and he was laying on the ground. She was already on top of him, getting ready to start CPR. And
when I got down there, he was holding his shoulder pads, and he was just taking ugly breaths, like he was. And I was like, "X, are you okay? Like, X, breathe." And as soon as I think he did like 3 or 4, and he just stopped breathing, and his eyes rolled back.
You could see his lips turning purple, and as a coach, we go through CPR and AED training and everything, and that's stuff that we hope and pray we never have to deal with or be involved with. And I remember holding his head and keeping his airway open, but luckily our trainer at the time, Sheena, just kind of jumped in and took charge, and it just kind of happened.
And I remember somebody coming up where I was sitting in the Fox truck and saying, "They need you on the field, somebody's down." There's the stands, and right like at the 50-yard line, there's a big crowd of people, and I can't see anything that's going on. And when they parted for me, I see a kid, a football player. And I'm like, it wasn't supposed to be a kid. To see a kid there was really heartbreaking, and just think, oh God, please let me help this kid. He's just a child. We didn't have an ambulance anywhere close. The closest ambulance was 20 to 25 minutes away. So it was, at that point, just me, and it was going to be the volunteer firemen from that town. Most of them are also EMT basics. The ambulance gets there, and we load him up.
The ambulance, when they turned onto the main road, they didn't turn their flashers or sirens on, which is not a good thing. And so it was kind of like that pit in the stomach, like, you got to be kidding me. And then luckily they turned them on, and it was kind of a relief.
So I rode in with the ambulance, and we got to the hospital. I remember taking him in. He never lost his heartbeat again. He was in a normal sinus rhythm.
Just hearing the story from my mom, her telling me what had happened when I passed out was amazing. After hearing that, it was just hope. That's what That's what it gave me to keep fighting, because they didn't stop doing CPR on me because I kept going in and out. They kept fighting because they kept getting a pulse. And so I decided to fight for my life too, because I thought it was over.
He has an anomalous origin of a coronary artery.
So his arteries aren't positioned where they're supposed to be. So it cuts off the blood supply to his brain. And that's what made him pass out.
Having survived a heart attack at the age of 15, I made it my mission to bring awareness to young athletes having heart disease that they don't even know of.
You should consider donating to the American Heart Association, because that money goes to the research that saved my son.
The American Heart Association offers so many different classes that they offer, the curriculum, the materials. It is an amazing organization. And you always see that, talk about that ripple effect. You never know when you teach a class who you may be saving because they go forth and do CPR.
So my family and I ask you to open your hearts for the American Heart Association.